welcome to the Rise Above show with Patricia Joe Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. Today, my guest is Annie Gibbins, and let me tell you a little bit about Annie. She is a passionate and purpose-driven global women's empowerment coach, CEO, fempreneur, number one best-selling author, and speaker. Annie is the founder of two premier online coaching programs called the Women's Business Incubator and Life by Design. These programs are for women from around the world, allow Annie to be able to access her 30 years of business and life C-suite experience to skyrocket their success, balance, and happiness, both personally and professionally. Annie's podcast, Memoirs of a Successful Woman, and her biography called Becoming Annie, the biography of a curious woman, along with authoring and contributing to numerous books and magazine articles. Annie is also the CEO of an eye health charity in Australia, mom of 5 and a nana of 2. Oh, so happy to have you here with us, Annie.
It's such a delight to join you, Patty.
Oh my goodness. You and I are so similar in so many ways, but I look up to you as a mentor for myself because I want to be able to emulate how you serve and what you do, and again, you've done this with having how many children?
5 children.
Right.
So I had 5 children, including 2 sets of twins. So I had them in rapid fire back there, but they're all grown into young adults now. So I'm at the other end of welcoming new little grandchildren into our world, which is beautiful.
Oh, grandchildren are the best. Are the best.
bet.
Yeah, I just shared pictures and you saw those too. Oh my goodness, yes. So that brings me into the first segment that I've started, the new segment I've started on my show is This Grammy Doesn't Knit, She Cliches. And what I mean by that is I like to ask the guests coming on to share maybe some words of wisdom or a phrase that they heard as a child. Maybe their grandmother said it or something like that. And what those words meant to them at that point, when they were young, if they really totally understood them, did they stick with them through the years? And, now how do those words of wisdom relate to today's society?
Wow. There's so many gems that you could draw on with a question that springs to mind is one of my grandmas who I was just really bonded with and a really great connection always used to say to me, Annie, you've got to make your own magic happen. And that was because she'd gone through in Russia and she then fled the country from the Bolshevik Revolution. She ended up losing all her wealth and her title, and she ended up in Australia as my grandmother as a refugee. And so she'd been through war and famine and just a whole loss of identity. But then she had this funny way of saying, you know what, when all the cards don't fall your way at times, you got to make your own magic happen. And I used to think it was so funny because I looked at her life story and went, wow, you could be really cranky. You could be really mad or frustrated. But she went and said, no, just lean into doing things and just make it happen. And I've taken that on as a total truth for my life. When I had my 2 sets of twins 2 years apart, like I was only 25 and I suddenly had 4 little kiddies. And I always wanted to be a businesswoman. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my words of my grandmother just resonated with me. You've got to make your own magic happen. And one, absolutely never change anything having your gorgeous little bubbies. But also, as I've done my career journey around, 3 degrees, around 5 kids and juggling it all, I've always had those words, yeah, Annie, make your own magic happen. So much so that even when I wrote my first program, I called it Magic Transformation. We were able to make magic personally and make magic professionally. So this little magic word sort of an analogy really resonated with me strongly. And I think that's true to everybody though, right? Sometimes things are easy, but most of the time they're challenging. And we can either make that choice. We either choose to wait it out and wait till something positive falls in our lap, or we actually get curious, like my biography said, and try and make some magic happen. And I think when you do that and follow your purpose and your passion, it's amazing. More magic seems to happen, right?
So I totally 100% agree, and that's such a beautiful thing, and that's why I like to ask, because I am a firm believer, and I know it for a fact that it's true, that words affect us in a positive or negative way. So the words that were shared with you as a youngster, it kind of made sense to you at that point, and it resonated with you and stuck with you through. But also those words, that somebody else may have used with their children or grandchildren affect them as well. And we don't, people really need to realize that. But most importantly, and the point I want to share with our viewers and listeners, is the words that we use with ourselves are,
Yes.
they, even if we don't speak them, okay, even if we don't speak them, but if we're saying them to ourselves in our minds, that affects us in a positive or negative way. So be careful with the words that you choose to use with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank
100%.
you, Annie, for playing with me with this. And now I want to actually add this and share with our viewers and listeners what one of the names of what you do with your business. What's one of the themes?
Oh, look, what I'm doing at the moment is I've just launched the Women's Business Incubator. And so that's got 3 different programs, 3 6-month programs. So you're either starting up a business, you're scaling up, or you're dominating a business. And so the reason I actually have now sort of launched them is because I've always integrated, I suppose, career development in with my magic program. So I've still got Life by Design, which then leads on to my magic programs. But I found that over the last couple of years, particularly, so many women who came to me for coaching actually were in that stage of flux, right? It's a stage of transition that their kids are young and they're frustrated about going back to work when they want to be at home, they want to juggle something, or they've got a side hustle and it's kind of like, when am I going to have enough to really make it a go? Or their kids have now finished school and it's that time of, well, what should I be doing? So I then decided to, due to what I know are having in America at the moment, resignation, people having those moments of, well, that's right, COVID has allowed them to sort of reassess their life really and say, well, how do I want to spend my time, my money, my resources? And so I've then gone and, pretty much mapped out. I've got a template for everything after being a CEO for over a decade. And so I've created these programs. And so it'll allow women to go step by step, particularly the startup one. You can go from idea to launch in 6 months. And then it's really so that you can consolidate your business, that it will be successful. So that course lasts for 1 to 2 years in. And then scaling up requires a completely different framework. You have to actually be able to then outsource. You have to realize that other people have to come into your business, or you have to work with others, collaborate with others. You can't do it yourself or you burn out. And it's really stressful. It's hard to do that. And then so that'll get you to 6 figures. And then to dominate in business, this is for people who've got really good established businesses and they want to take it to 7 figures. They want to be the default solution for someone to know if I'm going for the goal achievement strategist, I go to Patty. If I'm wanting to do a startup business for women or scale up, I'll go to Annie Gibbins. And so how do you actually do that? And so that's going to have a lot more work on personal branding, being able to be confident speaking, having books, having signature programs, whatever it is, it's adaptable. And so I'm really excited. I love what I've developed. And so I'm taking enrollments already for next year.
Oh, right. So this, and that goes into my question, but I think you pretty much covered it. How have you used the COVID pandemic, to grow and scale your business? And what you've done is actually revisited what the journey that you've been on yourself, and
Exactly.
actually cookie cuttered it out so that you could put the programs that you've created.
Exactly. I've used your time really wisely. I've had extra time because we were in lockdown like you were and the rest of the world. And so those courses that I used to do face to face, I then went and said, okay, I'm going to use my time to actually create all of those videos. One of my programs got 16 modules. So that's a lot of content. Now these new programs have got 8 modules each. So to be able to just create them, to review them really nice to actually go and revisit things. Often we're too busy. And so it allowed me to go, okay, well, what would I want from scratch? And also, what do my clients now want? It might be different to even what I wanted 5 years ago, 10 years ago, to make sure it's current, to make sure it reflects the current market, to be able to spend COVID to actually really tap into that and to sort of sit back and look and go, okay, well, what are the people coming to me now wanting? Because we've got to create our businesses for the future, for the now and the future. And so it allowed me a number of benefits to really, tap into my clients, use my time wisely rather than getting frustrated, develop a whole lot of new content, and also just write books. I've been writing a lot as well. And so I must admit, although terrible for the world, and we can definitely not skirt around that, it has been, if we decide, okay, we're in this situation, how can we use it wisely? I've been amazed by actually how much has been achieved and the benefit that's had. And that's been a really great thing for me too, because I'm sure, like many of your listeners will be, it's so easy to just go, okay, well, I've got my programs, I know what I do, just keep doing that, right? And, it's always, whatever area you're in, it's easy to get safe and constant, and you get a lot of confidence with that. And so, like I push my clients, I've definitely pushed myself to a new level as well. And I must admit, I'm loving it.
Oh, and it's a beautiful thing. And again, knowing where you are yourself, and that's what I teach everybody as a goal achievement strategist. We have to know where we're starting from to know, how we're going to get to where we're going. And
Yes.
that's the thing. So you've just revisited, okay, I've already made this part of my journey. This is where I am now. This is what I want to go to next. And it's really important to do that. Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that, Annie. We need to take a quick break to hear some words from our sponsor, 133 Approved Funding, and we'll be right back. And we're back. If you're just joining us, I have Annie Gibbins here with me. And let me tell you that we were just having a conversation about, how it's important to know where we're starting from to be able to move forward with whatever is happening next with our business and life. And so I want to ask you now, Annie, was pivoting your business to be more business focused, why was that so essential?
I think it was essential for me for two reasons. One, to be honest and a little bit selfish, I wanted to continue developing myself. And I sort of had this moment of quite a number of people went and said, well, you're already a CEO. Why aren't you teaching more business? Why aren't you giving more out of your skills and expertise? And because I'd started my business on very much work-life balance, creating success, balance, happiness, that kind of blend, that's where I'd centered my first program. And therefore, that's where I had sort of nested myself, if you like. And then yeah, that's right. This is businesses. And so for me to actually create 3 new programs and then back myself going, yeah, okay, now I have to actually think on a whole new level. I have to think on all of those steps automatically to actually go, okay, if I've got to go back to, if I have a seed of an idea, of a little side hustle, how does, what are all the steps so that I can make sure that it's really achievable and my clients are really supported and they're going to benefit from my life expertise. So as we were mentioning before, some of it was around, the change of people's needs in COVID, and others it was actually just an extension of my services. So now I've got 2 whole complete business side, and then I've also got the life by design side, because I'll get two very different clients now. I'll get those who are actually working out what their work-life balance is, and through different stages of transition. They might be actually just career building, and there's nothing wrong with that, getting in a job and going up the ladder and practicing and going for promotions and things like that. And then I'll very much have a whole new group of people who are coming into my services who are solopreneurs, and then wanting to become entrepreneurs, and then really successful businesswomen in their own right, and some of them running multiple businesses. And so for me, it's just my next challenge, and it's also that perfect blend to meet the needs of the current market.
And let me bring this up too, Annie. These are all walks that you've already walked yourself. And so
Exactly.
having that wisdom to be able to share is so key, so fantastic. I applaud you for what you're doing, and I want to be just like you when I grow up.
Oh. I remember so many times, Patty, that I had these ideas. This is why I'm so passionate about it, because I remember being, 25 when my bubs were little, and I'd get all these ideas. I've always been entrepreneurial focused, which is hilarious. I used to go, I could buy a kindergarten, and then at least my kids were there, or I could create this business or sell these products, whatever. I used to just see businesses everywhere. But then because I was in a very conservative sort of household, like just get a good job, and I was a nurse back in my first career, it was like just get your job and be satisfied where you are and stop having these crazy ideas. And then what I learned was over the years,
That's not you.
right, they're not crazy ideas. It's not me.
Right.
I'm an out there creative person. I see ideas for businesses all the time. Even my clients, I can just see things. I read the game, and now that's right, my career journey from back then to now, nearly 30 years later, that's it. I have started businesses, scaled businesses, had those successes. I do run a, multi-million-dollar charity and things of that nature. And so therefore the skills that I've developed over that time now are second nature to me, and it's great to be in your genius zone, as we'll call it, to actually go, yeah, it's not even hard, it's effortless, it's rewarding, it's challenging at times, but it's something that when you're at that level, it's a delight to be able to share that with someone else who's back at that stage going, the amount of people who've come to me and go, Annie, do you think I'm crazy? Do you think my ideas are crazy? And I'm like, no, they're not crazy at all.
They're beautiful, right?
I go, do you lie at bed? You lie in bed at night thinking about it? They go, yes, I think about it all the time. And they'll suddenly bring out their sketch pads, and, whether it's dresses or shoes or a shop or an idea or whatever, they've got all this creativity. And so they actually just need to plant it in the right place. And then saying that, you can't be dreaming either. It's very different having a hobby to, is it a business,
right,
and are you wanting to be a small business, or are you wanting to be an entrepreneur? And so it's important to actually go from that enthusiasm and someone believing in you to actually show you how it works.
Exactly.
And it's not that complicated, but there is a formula, right?
Exactly.
So
I 100% agree. Oh my goodness, Annie. Yes. That's where you and I are right on that same wavelength. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So as the host of Women Collaborating Globally, how do you use the Facebook group and other networks to empower women globally?
Oh, this has become my passion over the last few years. You get a stage in your life, like you're at as well. I know we're like sisters in this way. If you just want to actually give back, you want to, create an environment for women globally to actually encourage each other, to support each other, that we're not competitors to each other. We actually can benefit from our collaborations, our relationships, partnerships, and it's definitely the way to go. So I started a Facebook group couple of years ago called Women Collaborating Globally. And so it's pretty much for everybody. It's free advice to do it, because we have pioneered that way